Well, I mentioned it's Money Monday, and we've got your financial email questions. Pat, this first one is from Steve, who says, I know that the IRS will charge a late penalty if you don't file and pay any tax due by April 15th. I'm really busy right now and don't want to take time to gather all my paperwork together. I'm pretty sure I'll get a refund. If I file late but don't owe any tax, will the IRS still charge a late penalty?
Well, the answer, if you don't owe a tax, there won't be a penalty. But you said, I'm pretty sure. You'd better be very sure. And one thing you can do real quick is to ask for an extension to file. And there's a little short form about that big. You can fill it out and send it in. And with any estimated tax, and you say, I don't owe any tax. So that's what you send in. But if you don't owe a tax, they won't assess you a penalty. As a matter of fact, they'll start giving you interest on money they're keeping that they ought to send back to you. If you
But that's a smart thing to do. You're right. Okay, this is Martin, who says, at a family gathering recently, I noticed my 10-year-old nephew bugging his mom to go buy him a new video game. When my sister said she didn't have the money, the boy said, sure you do, just get out the debit card. My kids are still preschoolers, but I want to teach them money is real and not something magical tied to a plastic card. Do you have any suggestions how I can do this in an ever-increasing cashless society?
Yeah, Martin, I would have a ceremony, get all the kids together very solemnly and burn candles and have funereal music, and then take all the credit cards and put them on the table with a pair of scissors and cut them up. And I say, this is what we're going to do, the death of credit cards. Have a little box and you're going to put them in the ground, bury them. The other thing is, when you shop with your children, pay cash. Let them understand what cash is. Let them get used to cash. Teach them. And one suggestion is, let them help you balance your checkbook, for example, and show them the way it is to be responsible. But this idea that, oh, you've got plenty of money, just pull out your debit card. Yeah, sure. Suicide.
It does seem that way to children, though, when you're constantly
just
pulling
if that's all they ever see is that's money, and the money is the little plastic. Give it out there. All right.
This is Stephen, who says, I've accumulated a lot of credit card debt over the past 3 years, not to mention my student loans. I tithe faithfully, but now I'm thinking about suspending my tithing to pay off the credit card debt faster. Right now, paying them monthly is allowing additional interest to grow, and that really bothers me. Do you think that's a good financial strategy?
Stephen, it's a very poor strategy. You cut off the source of God's blessing into your life. You think that's smart? The answer is absolutely not. But look, take the lowest number, whatever it is, the least balance, lowest balance that you've got, and pay that rascal off. Then go to the next one and work it on. You don't have to just pay the $10 a month they're asking for, minimum payment. Pay a substantial amount, and then you're cutting it down. Otherwise, they will keep you in a trap. But start paying and pay as I say, the lower ones, pay the minimum, of course, so you don't lose your standing. But make sure that you pay down some of those cards, but don't stop your tithe. Big mistake.
This is Renee, who says, we moved into a new home earlier this year. We've been trying to sell our old house, but it's just not happening. What do we need to know if we want to rent it out instead?
Renee, the thing you should have known is you don't buy a new house till you sell the old one. That's where it starts. And I would counsel people in this audience, do not buy a new house unless you have disposed of the old house.
Especially in this economy.
Yeah, you will have 2 payments and they will kill you. That's for starters. Okay. You've got a house. It's no longer yours in a sense. It is yours, but you're moved out of it. Get your precious possessions out of it. Get it nice and clean. If you've got to fix a few things up, do it. Take photographs of each room as to the condition, and then check tenants. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Check their history, check their references, check their stability, their bank statement, and make sure they put up a couple of months at least, a first payment and a last payment that you've got cash in the door. So if they trash your house, you've got something to take care of.
Yeah, that may sound extreme, but people who rent, certainly not all people, but lots of people do not take one whit of care of the property that they're in and are even destructive to it. I mean, I've looked at rental properties before, and boy, they're in terrible shape.
Well, it's terrible, sure. I mean, they have no vested interest. But you might also, it's suggested, get yourself a lawyer who is familiar with this phase of real estate and write a lease that is ironclad, where you can throw them out because you get some squatters in there and they claim there's some law that permits a household exemption for 6 months and so forth. You've got to get something that's absolutely ironclad. If they don't pay, if they trash, boom, they're gone. It's tough.
Yeah,
I mean, renting is tough.
Yeah, and you know, you kind of need to be handy so you can fix things too, or it's costly. This is Mike, who says, do you think it's a good idea to temporarily stop contributing to my 401k, thereby losing my company's matching funds, and instead use the money to pay off my car loan? Once the car loan's paid off, I would resume the 401k.
I don't know what your status is, what your finances are, what your prospects are for the future. That's sort of a toss-up. You are losing some money that is tax-free that your company would give you. You're giving that up. And it may be you could work out something. If I were you and you really are burdened by bad, onerous terms on your car loan, you might think of refinancing or selling your car and paying off the loan. Yeah. But I wouldn't stop your 401 contribution. That's not a wise move. Yeah.
Probably have to work that out on paper and see what the interest involved is.
You can't just answer that off of television, not knowing any more than we know.
This is Sheila, who says, my husband's been out of work for several months and I need to make some extra money to help out. I've always loved doing crafts like knitting scarves and sewing doll clothes, and I think it would be fun to sell them at craft shows. Is making and selling crafts a good way to make money?
Well, it depends on what kind of crafts you have. It depends on how long it takes you to do a craft. I mean, if you sit there with a lap robe and you're doing crocheting and it may take 6 months to do and you can only get $15, $20 for it, it is not a good investment. So it depends on how fast you can make them and then what the market is for them. Well, what do your supplies cost and what can you get back? And, I mean, crafts may be fun. I mean, it's a fun thing to do as a hobby. But when you start talking about business, it's a different matter. However, you can give a shot at eBay and you can say, original Grandma Moses scarf or whatever from the attic of the famous, granddaughter or whatever. I mean, make up a story, put it on eBay, and maybe you can sell it. But it isn't something that, unless you're prepared to do a serious business where you're taking account of your labor and the material in terms of the price.
And sometimes they'll charge you to enter a craft show, so you need to enter that into
the equation. I have
never
entered one, so you have some knowledge I don't have on that. All right.
Okay, this is Suzanne, who says, a friend of mine recently told me about how she keeps a want list of things that she likes or wants but can't afford to buy right now. She says that it keeps her from making impulse purchases. Do you think it's okay to have a want list, or does it indicate that I'm dissatisfied with what I have?
Well, I think wants, the Lord gives us the desire of our heart, and if the desire of your heart is to have a new refrigerator, I can't see that necessarily is a sin, unless you focus on that and obsess over that list, and you get terribly upset because you can't have what's on the list. Then, no way. But if it's kind of something that keeps you restrained, well, one day I'm going to get that new refrigerator. Yeah. Then,
and to make it something you think about rather than just impulsively going out
the
and getting it, I think
impulse,
it's probably a good thing.
Beware obsessing. Okay, thanks for those questions.